Good evening, everyone. Welcome to ATL Prime Sports. I'm excited to be here this evening. I've got my sidekick, my partner, JJ, on the other side of the ATL. We've got our great engineer, our producer, Wayne in Memphis. This is ATL Prime Sports. I'm Todd Corder. Some people call me TC. So does JJ. Just want to let everybody know that this is our opening show. We're doing a different format, and we'll be on every week. We'll post the show on YouTube, and I cannot wait. I just want to let everybody know that you can reach us on Twitter at Corder Todd. You can reach JJ at JJ Get You One. And you can reach Wayne at WRY Jr. And that's how you can catch us. You can also catch us on Instagram and etc. Let's get right to it, guys. I do want to say something before we get into it. Wyatt Davis, the guard at Ohio State, he's going to opt back in. Sean Wade, the cornerback at Ohio State, he may opt in. And then, of course, Michigan's quarterback, McCafferty, he opted out today. So, as you guys know, Big Ten football is back. Welcome, everybody.
All right.
It's good to be back.
Yep. I'm excited.
I'm excited, too. And let's go ahead and get to our first topic, which is Big Ten. It's back. JJ, what are your thoughts? What is the first thing that comes into your mind, my friend?
Make up your mind, and they finally did it. That was my first thought. I thought they were a little
any other
premature,
thoughts?
A little premature in their first decision. Here we are, a couple months later. They're following suit. They're playing college football after a week or two. I mean, the news was delivered this morning. The Big Ten League's president and chancellors unanimously voted to resume competition. To me, I think the biggest thing to take from this was the Big Ten's a big medical student-athlete first. They wanted some rapid testing. To me, I didn't think that was much of a big deal. I mean, testing's testing. If you're testing them every day and you start to get the results every day, it should work just as fine. But the rapid results were a big deal to them. And it looks like they're resuming football. They're going to start, the 24th of October?
October 24th, that's correct.
So,
they're going to start that weekend. And to me, the testing was critical, because they wanted the rapid testing so they could test people and know the results that same day. I did think that was a critical part of the process. There's no question about it. Just to let everybody know before we go on further with this, we're going to have Dave Cohen on at 8:40, the voice of the Georgia State Panthers. Also, later on, we're going to talk about the quarterback of the Georgia situation at QB. We're also going to talk about Georgia Tech's win against Florida State, and then we're going to give some predictions in college football later on as we go. But back to the Big Ten, to me, it was critical, the testing. They needed to be able to have quick results. That is one thing that they wanted. They went through some other safety protocols. But to me, it didn't make a lot of sense. They should have did what the SEC did. They should have never canceled so quick like they did on August 11th, waited it out, and they probably could have started next weekend like the SEC did on 9/26, and you'd have the same results. One thing, guys, the Big Ten doing this, playing 9 games in 9 straight weeks, they have no room for error. And I'm betting, and I'm not a betting man, as you know, JJ and Wayne, I'm betting the games are going to get canceled, and they're not going to get all the games in.
Well,
that's a bold prediction.
Yeah, Memphis already had to cancel, their upcoming game against Houston this weekend, and they actually started last week or 2 weeks ago. So, as the testing goes and as the season goes, they may have to postpone or cancel games.
Yeah, it's going to be something to look out for. SEC kind of planned for that. They put a couple bye weeks into the schedule. They plan for this. They have a week after the season just in case before the SEC championship game. They planned it out smart. That's why I said the Big Ten, too premature on their first decision. Now they're coming back. The college football playoffs is going to be a totally different discussion. Are they going to wait? Yeah, they probably will. But is it going to be fair? 8 games versus 10 games? that's a whole nother discussion. But again, the rapid testing results were huge.
They're going to have 9 games instead of 10. They are playing an 8-week season, and then they're going to play a division crossover in week 9.
Oh, is that what? Okay, I misunderstood that. I thought they were doing
first place is going to play first base for the first place is going to play first base for the right to go to the conference championship game, and then they're going to cross over. So they're going to play 9 games in 9 weeks, from what I understand.
Yeah, and then and then the article I was reading, 8 games, 8 weeks with the championship on December 19th. So it's going to be crazy. I mean,
wait a minute. You're right. The 8th week is the crossover. I screwed up. The 8th week is the crossover week.
No, we're on the same page.
Right.
There's lots of information. It just came out today, folks. So we're all starting to comb through the crumbs here. But it's going to look funny to me. Only playing 8 games. I don't think that's fair to get in the college football playoff, but again, that's a different discussion for a different day. They're playing football. I'm glad the Big Ten is.
But
maybe
you know
the
what?
Pac-12 will jump on board.
I think, JJ, there's no guarantee they're going to play football. Look at all the games that have been canceled thus far. Some teams can't even get in a college football game to this point. Look at Virginia Tech. Look at Virginia. They're having problems playing. And I don't know how many. I don't think everybody in the SEC is going to play the same amount of games. Just like I don't think everybody in the Big 12 is going to play the same amount of games, or anybody in the Big 10 is going to play the same amount of games. They have no room for error. And I want to commend Justin Fields, the quarterback at Ohio State. Guys, he's going to be the first or second pick in the draft. He doesn't even have to play.
No, he doesn't.
He's playing. I think that is awesome.
Neither did Trevor Lawrence. A lot of these guys didn't have to do it.
Right.
But they did it.
They did. Can I ask you guys something? Can I ask you guys your opinion on something? Christine Brennan today, she had an article on the USA Today. She said the start of the Big Ten football season is worse than the sex abuse scandals that Jerry Sandusky had at Penn State, Larry Nassar had at Michigan State, Richard Strauss at Ohio State, and Robert Anderson at Michigan. To me, this is absolutely absurd.
Yeah,
I disagree with that.
I would say that's false.
Oh, it's not even close. I mean, it's a liberal political agenda is what it is in her article in the USA Today. And she's written a lot of great articles. But to me,
she's a great writer.
She is a fantastic writer, but this is lunacy.
This is far-fetched. This is out there. I mean, to say it's worse than that, and to also, in her words, say it's the darkest day in Big Ten history because they're playing football, because student athletes, because parents of the student athletes, because medical personnel. Personally, I think this is the biggest thing to me, folks. The care these athletes will get on campus is better than it would be at home.
Yeah, I agree.
Prime example right here, folks and fellas. We have Dwan Mathis, quarterback in UGA. We'll talk about down the road tonight. Found a brain cyst on a normal routine checkup because he was at campus.
Right?
Why? Because they have medical world-class doctors that can take care of all these kids at the snap of a finger. So I think it's better to be on campus under the care of professionals than at home doing, hey, I don't know what a college kid does, but I know what I did, and it wasn't stay at home.
And these people like Christine Brennan, they think in order for these kids to play that they need a vaccine. And to me, the medical advances were the key to the whole thing, the quicker testing. But the notion that we need a vaccine is so short-sighted. And to me, you have to credit the players and the coaches for this.
Absolutely. The coaches, especially Ryan Day, had a big part in a big article. Wayne, what are your final thoughts on them?
I think our article is a little bit misguided. There's no reason to think that. And I agree with both of you that the medical attention that the students get while they're on campus, it may not be better than their personal physician.
True.
But it is more consistent, and it's something that gets done more regularly.
Well, there's no question about it. And guess what? FAU, they have 11 players that tested positive. They have 11 positive tests this week. Guess what? They're still hoping to play. I don't know if they can. You know, Arkansas State which we'll talk about the Sun
Big
Belt
win.
here pretty soon. They're not playing this week with their game is canceled. So who knows what's going to happen? This is a week-to-week basis. It's like trial. Heck, Houston and Baylor just scheduled a game, and they're going to play this week. Think about these schedules are done years in advance, and yet they're playing this week. That's the type of season we're going to have.
No, we also have to fill up that TV time.
Up the phone. People are literally picking up the phone and going, "Hey,
right.
can we play this week? Are you healthy?"
Right.
Yep. Let's go.
If it ain't gonna be Houston and Memphis on TV, I guess it'll be Houston and you said Baylor on TV. So.
That's correct, and we're waiting for Dave Cohen to join us here, the voice of the Georgia State Panthers. He'll be joining us momentarily here on ATL Prime Sports. Once again, you can catch us on a replay on YouTube each and every week. Our show will start taping on Monday, and we'll have it out by Tuesday or Wednesday starting next week. And also, JJ, I'll be giving TC's quick takes, and then you're going to be giving some quick takes during the week.
On the pro side. Pro side sports. I'll be sticking to pro. We'll let TC do the college takes down the week. We'll get you covered with your sports right here on ATL Prime Sports. Follow us on Twitter at ATL Prime Sports, folks.
All right, I'm bringing Dave into the meeting.
Hey, Dave, how are you this evening?
I'm pretty good. How are you guys?
Well, long time no talk to, at least on the air anyway. We've had some private conversations off the air. How you been?
I'm pretty good. Just adjusting to the new norm and getting ready for college football. I mean, our first two games, Murray State and Alabama were canceled. I see you wearing that Alabama hat, but those were canceled. It was supposed to be September the 3rd at home at Georgia State Stadium against Murray State, September the 12th at Tuscaloosa there at Bryant-Denny against Alabama. Obviously, the Ohio Valley Conference canceled. At least most of their schools did. Alabama, as part of the Southeastern Conference, the league decided that it would be in the league's best interest to play conference games only, maybe thinking that the virus would look a little bit more positively on the SEC if they only played league games as opposed to playing a full schedule. And so, we sat back last Saturday and watched Louisiana Lafayette, or Louisiana as they like to be known, head into Ames, Iowa, and take out Iowa State. So I'm a little cautiously optimistic about Saturday. I'll be anxious to see, what kind of raging Cajun football team comes into Atlanta.
Yeah.
Who do you expect to start at quarterback this week, Dave?
For us or for them?
For Georgia State.
Yeah. Cornelius Brown was named the starting quarterback late last week. So it came down to Cornelius Brown, who last year was a true freshman who saw very little bit of action in 4 games. Jamil Muhammad, who transferred in from Vanderbilt, sat out last year. And they signed the Gatorade Player of the Year quarterback from South Carolina. You may have read about him, Michele Colasurdo. He's the Georgia State player that was diagnosed with COVID-19. And at the time, they thought he had some of the myocarditis heart issue. So that made national news. And for a while there, it looked like his freshman season was done. And then I was out at practice at the beginning of last week. And as I'm walking along the concourse, because of COVID, normally I'm on the field, but because of COVID, I sit in the stands and watch practice. There was number 10 out there participating. I'm like, what's this? So he's back. And then, we did have a true freshman last year that got into just got into a few games, Kirsten Harvey, who's out of Americus, Georgia. But really the battle was between Jamil Muhammad and Cornelius Brown, and Cornelius won it out. And right now he's our starting quarterback.
You're listening to Dave Cohen right here on ATL Prime Sports, the new edition. Dave, welcome back. It's good to hear from you. I want to talk about this major weekend for the Sun Belt Football Conference. Is it the biggest weekend the conference has had in the football realm? And your comments on the 3 big wins and what it meant to the conference.
Well, that right now it's interesting because the Sun Belt, if you go all the way back to March, when all of this virus started and everything went into shutdown mode, basically in a 24-hour span. I mean, I can remember I was walking out of the back of the Georgia State Sports Arena after we had lost in the Sun Belt tournament. And someone, as I'm walking to the parking deck to my car, someone kind of called out and said, along with saying good night, they said, "Have you heard?" And I'm like, "No, heard what? I've been upstairs on the radio doing our game. The NBA is shutting down after tonight's game because Rudy Gobert tested positive with Utah." I'm like, wow. And I got in the car and I turned on the Hawks broadcast. And, of course, that's what Steve was talking about, that the NBA after that night was shutting down. So my point is that fast forward through all these months, from that night on, nobody was really sure what sports, professional, school, whatever, was going to look like. And but I will say, and, we do a podcast, the Panther Insider podcast, and I don't know, probably about 3 months ago, we had Keith Gill on, the commissioner of the Sun Belt. And, not one time has the Sun Belt talked about shutting down and not playing football. The Sun Belt has always been under the mindset that, they were going to push forward and they were going to play. My point is, you had the Pac-12 canceled, the Big Ten canceled. Now it looks like they're coming back. The SEC says they're not playing conference games. It's always been the Sun Belt, Conference USA minus Old Dominion. I think the American Athletic have all kind of forged ahead, never once, at least publicly, talk about shutting down. So because of all of that, the Sun Belt is getting all this national television exposure. I mean, our game on Saturdays on ESPN2, as well as the radio network. I watched a little bit of Louisiana Lafayette at Iowa State on Saturday. Good, great win for them. Great win for Coastal Carolina. Great win for Arkansas State. And it's all happening on national television because the Sun Belt has always been, at least out front, forthright about the fact that they are going to forge ahead and they are going to play a season as best they can. Granted, there's been a few bumps here and there, but it's never been in doubt that the Sun Belt would play. So this could be, this past weekend could be, you're right, the greatest weekend in the history of Sun Belt Conference football. Going 3-0 against the Big 12. And, they came close in a couple of other games. South Alabama coulda, woulda, shoulda won their game. Of course, I was pulling for Campbell to beat Georgia Southern, as any good Georgia State fan would do. And but it was a really, really good weekend because the Sun Belt, which doesn't happen often, was front and center, stage front, to show the rest of the country that, Sun Belt football. You know what? The other thing, and it probably won't happen, but we've talked about this when you guys have had your previous podcasts. Another good reason why that playoff needs to be opened up a little bit.
I agree.
Because the upper echelon I'm not talking about Georgia State yet. I haven't seen us play, a game yet. But there's no question in my mind that Louisiana Lafayette, Appalachian State, Arkansas State can go in and hang with most of the Power 5 schools. I'm not saying they're going to beat them all. I'm not saying they're going to go into Alabama and beat Alabama. What I'm saying is they can go in and go toe-to-toe with most, if not all, of these Power 5 schools. And they showed it this past weekend. Granted, I know Kansas is not a great football team. I'm not sure how good Kansas State is. But the fact is they're playing the competition that they're scheduled to play. And they showed out, for the most part, very well.
Dave, what are the strengths and weaknesses of the Georgia State football team?
That's an easy question. I wouldn't name it a weakness. I would name it a major question mark. We already talked about it. I think we're solid at every single position. And when I say solid, I mean experienced, except at quarterback. Because we go from a guy like Dan Ellington, who'd been here the last 2 years. Granted, his first year, we went 2-10. Remember that? Last year we got off to a great start, obviously, at Knoxville, and we kind of sputtered down the end because in my opinion, most of it was injury. We lost Ed Kearney, we lost Remy Lazarus, our two captains on defense. We lost Jordan Strawn. Dan was playing on one leg. And we ended up losing 4 out of 5 down the stretch, including losing to Wyoming in the Arizona Bowl out there in Tucson. And barring any off-season transfer of a quarterback who, in hindsight, probably could have come in and started right away, right? Jameel Muhammad who transferred from Vanderbilt, but he really hasn't taken, very many snaps. He hasn't taken any for Georgia State because he transferred in. I told you Cornelius was a true freshman last year who saw very, very limited action. And the other two, are almost complete unknowns. Offensive line, we're strong. 4 out of the 5 starters are back. Hunter Atkinson is the only one who was a senior. And, he was in Falcons camp. And someone told me he may have gotten a look-see at Green Bay. But I don't think he's with anybody right now. But he's the only loss in the offensive line. So we've got experience on the offensive line, starting with Cornelius McCoy. A lot of returning players at the receiver spot. Solid at tight end with Roger Carter and with Aubrey Payne. Great Terrence Dixon back, the kid from Columbus. I've never seen him drop a ball in practice. I don't know if he's got stickum on his hands or gloves, but he never seems to drop the ball. I got some young guys, and I'm just looking at my chicken scratch here. Kadarius Thompson and Jamari Thrash, 2 young guys that have looked good in practice. Another key loss was Trey Barnett in the backfield. He became the all-time leading rusher in Georgia State football history, at least through the first 10 years of it. Seth Page is nursing an injury, so I'm not sure what his availability will be. So it's Dustin Coates, Tucker Gregg, Dawson Hill, and Marcus Carroll. Carroll's a freshman out of Union City, Georgia. And that's what it looks like on the offensive side. And then on the defensive side, again, we lost our 2 team captains, but a lot of experience back, starting right up front at the nose guard with Dante Wilson, who's out of Jefferson High School, up 85 in Jefferson, Georgia. Hardrick Willis and T.J. Arnold. TJ's out of Rome, Georgia. The outside guys, Victor Hayward and Sean Taylor. Jordan Strawn is back. I know I'm just throwing names at you, but these are all guys that have played and played quite a bit. Trajan Stevens McQueen was a kid out of Charlotte. He's our leading returning tackler. He's an inside linebacker. But everybody else in that position is plenty experienced. The one guy that they added, actually 2 guys that they added that are looking to be impact players are at the safety spot. Chris Moore, who transferred in from the University of Virginia and who was eligible immediately, and Antavius Lane, who's a freshman. Those 2 will start at safety, at least in the first depth chart. And, those guys should be good to go. The one loss on the defensive side was Cedric Stone. He had graduated. He was a starting corner after being a starting safety. And he's transferred to Liberty. So he's up in Lynchburg, Virginia. But there's a lot of other names I could mention. They're all guys that have played. You want to know what the one key on defense is?
What is it?
Even last year, and I was talking about this with a guy on a radio show in Lafayette earlier today because he brought it up. Kind of a negative stat, but, stats are stats. Even though we averaged about 31, 32 points a game last year, the problem is that we gave up an average of 36 per ball game, which means you're asking your offense to score 35 to 40 points a game in order to have a shot to win. That number is going to have to come down. We cannot allow 35, 36 points a game week after week after week and expect to be in a position that we were in last year. Again, we did it last year.
Can I ask you something? Experience seems to be the key here. And I want to say this. With all this experience, how many games can they win this season?
Well, we're playing 10. So, if you look at that schedule, and I've got it right here, it's not an easy schedule. I mean, we're at home with Louisiana. They've now won 11. They've won 23 games in the last 2 seasons and 1 game. That's including their win over Iowa State. Then we're on the road at Charlotte, and then we're at home with East Carolina. That's the first 3 games. After that, we're at Arkansas State. They're coming off that good win at Kansas State, and they're one of the top 3 teams, top 4 teams in the Sun Belt. Then we're at Troy. Then we're at home with Coastal Carolina, who beat Kansas for the second year in a row. Louisiana Monroe beat us last year in Monroe, and that's the night Dan Ellington got hurt. And then we're at Appalachian State, at South Alabama, and home with Georgia Southern. So I don't know that I want to throw a number out there because I want to see how we come out of the gate this weekend and then next Saturday up in Charlotte before I dole out any predictions, because that's not an easy schedule when you're starting a quarterback that's really never taken more. That's not taken more than 25 snaps in his career.
You're listening to Dave Cohen, voice of the Georgia State Panthers football, baseball, basketball, right here on ATL Prime Sports. Dave, it's good to have you back on. You guys open up with a ranked opponent in the Sun Belt Conference at home. I can't remember a Sun Belt opener in a Sun Belt Conference being a ranked opponent at Georgia State Stadium. That's got to be big. Give us some keys to what the Panthers need to do to come away with the victory on Saturday.
Well, first and foremost, one of the strengths for South Alabama, I mean, it starts right there with their quarterback, Levi Lewis. He had a pretty good ball game last week. Another one of these quarterbacks that can hurt you in the air, and he's mobile. I was able to watch not all of that game, but, a decent amount of that game. And they've got two really, really good running backs in Elijah Mitchell and Trey Regis. Part of their success last week was special teams. They had a punt return and a kick return. One of the two was for a touchdown. I can't remember. And one of them, I think, set up a touchdown.
The kickoff return was for a touchdown.
Yeah, and then the punt return was awfully – it got them a score. My point is that special teams, we're not going to be able to give up those kind of easy plays, to this particular football team. They're big up front. They're experienced up front. I mean, I'm looking at their offensive line right now. Senior, redshirt, junior, sophomore, and junior, backed up by juniors and seniors. So this is a football team that's built to compete for the Sun Belt Conference Championship. They've been in it each of the last 2 years. And to be honest with you, I'm cautiously optimistic, but, I'm a little worried about this game on Saturday because, when you compare it to a year ago, we got off to such a great start in Marksville.
With the big high.
With the big win over Tennessee. And from there, the snowball picked up some momentum. We haven't had a lot of that in the 10 years that we've been playing football. So I'm a little cautiously optimistic - concerned because this is a really good team we're playing. I mean, you'd have to say Louisiana and Appalachian State right now, you would say these are the two best teams in the conference.
Dave, I'd also say that, the win over Louisiana State, I mean, it wasn't close, 31-12. And it seems to me Louisiana has a lot of athletes. They were quicker than Iowa State. They were better at the skill position, and they had better line play. The game wasn't close at all. To me,
they spanked them.
I'm sorry?
In the second half,
in the trenches everywhere. I mean, absolutely. They were moving them around in the second half. They could do anything they wanted to do. They scored at will. To me, I believe the Chanticleers said it when they were playing Kansas. It said, man, we can play with these guys. So I'm sure the Raging Cajuns felt the exact same way from the get-go. When they had a big play, they got the, like you said, the kickoff return for a touchdown, said, hey, we can play with these guys. And it went from there.
They're fast and athletic in the skill positions, and this win was no fluke. And Iowa State was ranked 23rd in the country, and Iowa State was a team that did not look like the ranked team, even though they had supposedly a dark horse for a Heisman at quarterback in Purdy. Louisiana Raging Cajuns, they look like the real deal.
Yeah, this is why this would be a perfect year. I know it's not going to happen. A 12-team playoff. Each of the conference champions, and this is of course depending upon what happens with the Big Ten. If they may only play 8 games, and this also depends on what happens with the Pac-12. If the Pac-12 stays and does not play, then you could knock it down to say a 10-team playoff. Each of the conferences champion gets a bid, and then you can hold out a couple of wild card bids. This would be the year to do it. It's wide open. It's absolutely
I agree.
wide open. If there's ever an opportunity for the group of five to step up, this would be it. This year would be it.
Pandemic football, everybody. I mean, it's wide open. Somebody can come look at COVID. COVID is going to be part of the process, JJ, Dave, and Wayne. Some player is going to have to sit out a couple of games, a star player. I just think it's going to happen, and it can not only change a conference race, but it could change the race for a playoff.
Nationally, absolutely.
Yeah, no question. Absolutely. That's what I said. This would be the year. And I'm not speaking for
It'd
any
be
other
fun.
leagues. I'm not speaking for any other leagues, but again, after watching just a couple of weeks of the Sun Belt, you'd have to say, if you're sitting in New Orleans at the Sun Belt Conference, you'd have to feel pretty good if either Louisiana or Appalachian State happened to win it again and represent the league in a 10-team or a 12-team playoff.
Dave, real quick, what is your opinion on the Big Ten and how they've gone about it from the beginning till now?
You know, I was kind of surprised that the Big Ten and the Pac-12 bowed out so quickly. I remember, talking about why is the Sun Belt? What does the Sun Belt and Conference USA and the American Athletic know that those conferences don't know? They're the ones with all the money and all the resources. But I was kind of surprised that they bowed out so quickly. And, now they're talking about coming back and playing 8 games. I know there was some political pressure from Washington to come back and play. And I think I just read something on Twitter tonight that the governor of Oregon has given Oregon and Oregon State permission if the Pac-12 does decide to come back and play.
Well, Dave, the Pac-12 always follows the Big Ten. I think the Pac-12 is going to come back quicker than everybody else. But the commissioner said today the fires and COVID is the reason we're not going to start right now. But you can rest assured they're going to start, and they're going to try to get the games in like the Big Ten. They're almost like twins. I mean, you can almost guarantee with the Oceans on the west and the east of side of this country that they're going to come back and play.
Yeah, I think so.
And I think the Rose Bowl has a lot to do with that. The original Pac-12 Big Ten agreement.
Sure. The San Gabriel Mountains are in the west, and the Statue of Liberty is in the east. It's never going to change. The Pac-12 will follow the Big Ten. I mean, whatever the Big Ten does, the Pac-12 seems to just come along. Okay, we'll do what you want. I mean, it's incredible.
Well, again, at the end of the day, they're all the Pac-12 schools and ADs and presidents, and the Big Ten schools, ADs, and presidents for the last 2 weeks are all sitting back watching the Sun Belt play and watching Conference USA play. And they're like, well, how can these group of 5 schools do it and do it pretty much safely, yet we can't?
Correct.
I don't have a clue, but I just know one thing. There's a lot of games that are going to be canceled, and JJ and I said it before we came on. The Big Ten, they're not going to go 8 consecutive weeks. Somebody's going to miss a game somewhere. They're going to have to determine by winning percentage who wins the conference. And that may happen in every conference because Alabama may play 8 games and Georgia only may play 7. And there's so much unpredictability in the season. And who knows? Maybe we get to October 24th and it's all shut down. Who knows? I don't think that's going to happen, but nothing is guaranteed at this point.
I know Arkansas State announced today their game with Central Arkansas is going to be either canceled or postponed. And it's mainly because on behalf of Arkansas State, I guess there's 1 or 2 certain positions they don't have enough players at because of COVID.
Right.
So.
Wow. So much uncertainty. Dave, tell the folks where we can catch the game on the air. And also, does Georgia State, are they expecting fans at the game? Are they allowing fans in the game too?
There will be fans at Center Park Credit Union Stadium, formerly Georgia State Stadium. Everything with the title sponsor of the stadium. So that was the big news that happened within the last month or so.
Right.
But yeah, there will be fans. I'm guessing. I don't know. Throw out a number, 5,000 maybe, 4,000 maybe. I don't know. I know season ticket holders will be in. There's plenty of room for people to safely distance. The stadium holds 25,000. So there's plenty of room. Again, it's the former Turner Field, former Olympic Stadium. You could even go into that middle deck that nobody really sits in. So, I don't think that'll be, too much of a challenge for Georgia State. The game, again, our first two games are on ESPN channels, ESPN2 for this one, and I think ESPN or ESPNU for the game at Charlotte next week. We're on radio on 88.5 FM WRAS, and then, of course, streaming to the Georgia State Athletics mobile app, available also via TuneIn Radio. Our radio affiliate in Gainesville, Georgia, will be carrying the game. And, our situation this year is that if we're not on one of the main ESPN channels, meaning ESPN 2U or News, then we'll be on ESPN Plus. The radio crew is going to move over to ESPN Plus, and radio will simulcast the audio from television.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Great.
That's a new development.
Thanks so much for coming on today. We really appreciate it. Love enjoying it. We'll have you on every week right about this time, about 8:40 next Monday. If you want to come on, we're going to be on Monday nights from now on, and you can talk about the Georgia State game and preview the upcoming one.
Anytime. I appreciate it. Always good. I'm glad you guys are back on, and I did want to say a big shout out to Wayne up there in Memphis. Good to see you finally. I've heard you numerous times, and it's great to see you.
Well, listen, I really look forward to returning to playing Georgia State, not only in football, but as basketball also. I know that the Sun Belt and the American Athletic Conference had a good relationship going there.
Yeah. And you're up in Memphis, right?
Right. I don't know if you could tell. I don't know if you could tell or not by all the stuff.
You've got quite the collection of musical instruments going on in there.
Well, that's a whole nother deal.
I know. I love coming to Memphis, though, because when Ron Hunter was our head basketball coach, when we would come on these road trips to play at Arkansas State, and actually football too, we stay in Memphis.
Yeah.
And I love it because I either get to hit Rendezvous or Central City Barbecue, and I like to go over to the old Pyramid, even though it's a Bass Pro Shops now. I like to go wander through what was the old Pyramid. I did about 3 or 4 Georgia State games in there back in the day.
Yeah.
And Memphis is always a great city to come and hang out in for a couple of days.
Well, if at some point we can all put something together, maybe we'll go have something to eat down on Beale Street next time everybody's in town.
That would be good, too.
Well, I also promised Wayne if the Falcons would ever go undefeated, I would get him a steak dinner of his choice, whatever he wanted. But I think the odds of him getting that steak dinner are probably slim and none.
I'm going to go give me some bread and bologna right now.
All right, Dave, thanks a lot. And we look forward to talking to you at 8:40 on Monday.
All right, I appreciate it, and fingers crossed that we play well this weekend against Louisiana.
My fingers are crossed, too. Thanks so much for coming on, as always.
All right, you take it easy, guys. Thank you.
You too.
Go
Dave Cohen here, the voice of the Georgia State Panthers here on ATL Prime Sports. He'll join us every Monday at 8:40 Eastern to talk about the Georgia State Panthers, the game that was on Saturday, and the upcoming game the following week. If they have a game due to COVID, there's so much uncertainty. We never know. JJ, Wayne, let's talk about the Sun Belt a little bit more in week 2 before we go on to our next topic. The Arkansas State-Kansas State win, to me, was the most incredible of the 3. Here's why. 9 offense and defensive players made their first start for the Red Wolves. That's 1. 12 players made their season debut. 4 of them were freshmen, and Arkansas State had a true freshman and a sophomore at corner, had a freshman at corner, and they also had a freshman as a long snapper, and they were also without 20 players, including 8 starters. Kansas State, guys, is usually a better than average team in the Big 12. To me, this is one of the biggest upsets you're ever going to see in college football history.
I gotta agree with you. That 35-31 Arkansas State came in there with the chip on their shoulder and played well. I think another impressive win sticking in the Sun Belt Conference. Dave was rooting against Georgia Southern, but boy, did they come back with 33 players not on their roster due to COVID and other reasons, they made a comeback win against Campbell, who, dominated most of that game. I thought that was pretty impressive. I don't care who you are. If you're down 33 players to win a college football game on any level is pretty insane. So I thought that was a pretty big highlight in the Sun Belt Conference as well.
And now 2 teams are ranked in the Sun Belt. Louisiana's 21,
Yes,
App State is 23, and that also was the first win for Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns on the road versus a ranked team in school history. That is another incredible feat, and they look like the ranked team, like we told Dave earlier. And Iowa State was the ranked team, and Purdy and company, who I just said a moment ago was a possible dark horse candidate for Heisman, they got blown off the field.
They got blown off the field. Not to mention that you mentioned a dark horse Heisman candidate. Scratch that, fellas. Iowa State was a dark horse playoff candidate. A lot of people saw Matt Campbell in the end of the year last year and how well the Cyclones really played. Now, they did lose 3 big games at the end of the year, but up until that point, they were really hot. A lot of people were on the Cyclones coming back. They returned a lot of starters. So that, to me, is unprecedented in its own right. Let's see if the Cyclones will rebound and have a good season, maybe like Michigan. I hate to bring this up, TC. They lost to App State and rebounded and had a great season. So maybe Iowa State can rebound, but that was an impressive win for the Sun Belt Conference in general. You mentioned the 2 ranked teams. Appalachian State looked very well, and they've won a lot of ball games recently. So a lot to hang your hat on for the Sun Belt Conference.
The Sun Belt is definitely the fun belt. 3-0 against the Big 12. The Iowa State was supposed to be supposedly the second best team in the Big 12. If they are, the Big 12 is going to have a bad year. They better hope Texas is the next best team, and we'll be talking about the Texas quarterback shortly, Sam Ehlinger. But, let's shift over from the Sun Belt and let's go locally to Georgia Tech and Florida State. Georgia Tech was down 10-0, came back and beat Florida State 16-13. An impressive win. The key to me was the defensive line forcing the 3 turnovers.
Huge second half by that Georgia Tech defensive line. You're right, TC. That was a big win for Georgia Tech. A lot of people, double-digit underdogs, 12-point underdogs on the road. Hadn't won in Tallahassee in 10, 11 years. I think it was 2009. Georgia Tech flat out outscored Florida State in the second half 16-3. Damn near shut them out besides a field goal. Again, you mentioned that D-line was the key. Georgia Tech got after Florida State all day. 3 turnovers forced. Freshman quarterback Sims. Boy, did he have a great second half, especially a fourth quarter. 9 for 12 in the second half, 96 yards, 0 picks. Fourth quarter, 4 for 4, 49 yards, game-time touchdown drive. So Georgia Tech coming out the gates, Jeff Collins. My only takeaway from this game is Georgia Tech's got to improve in the kicking game. 2 blocked field goals, an extra point. This game could have been easily Georgia Tech's by 7, 8 points, 6, 7, 8 points, depending on how you look at it. Georgia Tech's got a team to work with.
Well, Jeff Collins has done a really good job, and I've listened to him talk to the media a few times. One thing that stuck out with me with Jeff Collins is we leave the room or the field better than when we entered it. That tells me that when they get on the field that day, they better be a hell of a lot better than we leave it. When they get in the locker room, they better be better when they come back to the locker room. And not only when they leave that locker room, they need to leave it better than it was when they came in there. You know what that tells me? Discipline.
Great word. Great choice of words. Jeff Collins, I talked to a lot of my Georgia Tech friends off air, and they go, man, I don't know about this hire. I go, you got yourselves a knockout hire. He's from Atlanta. Going to come change the program. He's a grad assistant. He started out at Georgia Tech. He is Georgia Tech. This guy, the confidence is through the roof. He thinks he can recruit with anybody, and that's great because the facilities are there. The program's there. You're in a good conference. You play Clemson every year. You're in downtown Atlanta. Who doesn't want to come to downtown Atlanta and play football? Jeff Collins is building a gym down there in Midtown Atlanta, and I can't wait to see what the rest of the season holds. If they can fix that special teams, their defensive line's going to get after it, TC. We saw that the whole entire game. Kept them in the game in the first half. Florida State had a chance to get out and ahead by 16, 17 points. Never did. Defensive line made stands. I don't know the guy's name off the top of my head, but number 6, the linebacker for Georgia Tech, had an outstanding game. I'm anxious to see what Jeff Collins does with these Yellow Jackets. It is going to be fun to watch a team that,
another
like
thing
said,
they need to improve on is throwing the deep ball. I'm sorry, JJ. Another thing they need to improve on is to throw the deep ball, and that's something that, like you said, Sims will get better as the season goes along.
Well, they got
and he's a freshman, so you have time to work with that. Wayne, go ahead.
Yeah, they got a game against an untested Central Florida team coming up, and it's at Georgia Tech. So I feel pretty good about Georgia Tech being 2-0.
They're playing Central Florida, who's ranked 14th in the country. I don't think they win that game at all. If they keep it close, I know it's at home. I would be impressed. But they're playing the 14th ranked team in the country. If they win that game, they will be ranked. And talk about shocking the world.
Absolutely.
That would shock me if they won that game. I would be pretty shocked if they won. What about you, JJ?
I
It's pandemic football. Who knows?
Because it is pandemic football. These teams have not had the continual preparation that they normally are used to seeing for a game. I think the better prepared team will win. I don't know if necessarily the better team will win each and every week, but the better prepared team will win. We saw Navy did not do any contact drills, any tackling, and they got ran out of the stadium. It didn't even look fun. It didn't even look fun to be in that game. The players didn't even look like they wanted to be there in the second half.
Yeah,
so if you're better prepared teams are going to win football games, period.
If Navy's running a triple option and they're going to do practice with no contact, that's not going to work.
Yeah, that's what I said. The better prepared team can win every football game. UCF is better be ready to play.
That shocked me when Navy didn't use – I'm sorry, JJ. That shocked me when Navy used tackling dummies instead of tackling, and it showed when they got blown out by BYU in the first game of the season. I mean, they were blown off the field. And I've never seen a Navy team play like that in a long time. Let's go ahead and switch over. Let's talk about the Georgia quarterback competition. We're going to stick with quarterbacks for a while, but we're going to go to UGA first. JJ's home away from home. As we all know, Mr. Newman is out, and Dwayne Mathis could be in. Or is it going to be USC transfer JT Daniels? We won't know until the 26th, when Kirby Smart, until they play on the 26th of September, who the starter is. He's going to keep close to the vest. Frankly, I don't blame him, but I think it's down to those two quarterbacks now that Jamie Newman is out.
I think you're right. Jamie Newman, who I thought was going to be the starter. I always did. But I always said on this show that Dwan Mathis would compete because of his athleticism and his size. And Georgia really liked him as a recruit coming in. So Newman opted out. I think the timing, Captain Obvious in hindsight here is saying, well, I'm glad he did it then, not later. So at least he did it where there is time to prepare against Arkansas. Get your quarterback ready to play effective football in the SEC. I do think it will be Dwan Mathis now. I think it's his job. He's been running the scout team. He's been around the team. And JT Daniels just has not been cleared for full contact yet. So until that happens, it's going to be Dwayne Mathis to lose. But there are some other runners in there. You got Carson Beck, who's an incoming 5-star athlete, who can throw the ball, make any throw. You've seen the videos, I'm sure, on 247 Sports, 24/7 Sports. And then last year's backup, Stetson Bennett. You can't always count out experience. You can't ever count out experience in an offense. And then, of course, you got a coach's son. Will Mischamp's son, Jackson, is in the room. So you got a crowded quarterback room still But it's still DeJuan Mathis's job to lose. 6'6", can make all the throws, and he can extend plays.
And it's Terrence Mathis' kid. They got him out of a high school up in the Detroit area, and he's the one that's impressed most so far in the last scrimmage. So it is Mathis's job maybe to win right now. We'll see if JT Daniels gets cleared. Let's go ahead and talk about some more quarterbacks, the notable quarterbacks in the season opener. And I'm gonna go right to Spencer Rattler, who completed about 63% of his passes for about 290 yards and 4 touchdowns. I know it was against Montana State, but man, they think this kid may be better than all of them. But then again, when I look at the great list of quarterbacks at Oklahoma, Sam Bradford, Landry Jones, Baker Mayfield, Kyle Murray, and now Jalen Hurst. Murray won the Heisman. Baker won the Heisman. I mean, holy smokes, man. I mean, and this Rattler's only a freshman. I mean, what a job Oklahoma's done with their quarterback situation.
Speaking of quarterbacks, we'll stick in the Big 12. Another one, you know who I'm going to mention, Longhorns quarterback Sam Ehlinger. Man, did he have a big first half, pretty much. 426, 5 TDs, threw the ball 33 times, 25 completions. Big 12 quarterbacks, you know they're going to play good college football. They have a spread-out offense, 5 wide at times, 4 wide all the time. Player in the backfield, pistol formations, very tough to defend. You're seeing the numbers. 426 from Ehlinger. What a performance. Big 12 quarterbacks, that's all you can say.
He's right in the Heisman race. There's no question about it. And Ehlinger, to me, is Tim Tebow, but even a better passer. His game came along so much. It's came along so much in the last 2 years. He has a chance to break all kinds of records because he has 2 years of eligibility after this year.
He does. And he makes all the throws. When Texas beat Georgia, he was a big reason. He extended plays. He's sneaky fast.
Gritty.
Which is, to me, his best attribute. Going outside the pocket, throwing across his body. He's got a rocket arm. This kid looks like an NFL-level quarterback.
He's gotten better in the pocket.
Every year. And he's gotten better with reading defenses, getting protection. Pass protection was a big problem his freshman year. He let sacks come in on the backside, not seeing the blitz, nailing them. What? Causing a turnover. Sophomore year, gets a little better, beats Georgia. Here we are, year 3, looking like an All-American.
He's getting the ball out quicker.
Reads the defense. And quicker. And you nailed it. You took the words right out of my mouth. Quick, efficient down the field. That's the name of the game.
It is. Let's go to another great quarterback. Trevor Lawrence obviously left off where he was last year. 350 plus, 3 touchdowns against Wake Forest. A Wake Forest team that everybody goes to Wake Forest. I think Wake Forest is going to win 6 or 7 plus games this year and make a bowl game. But Trevor Lawrence just makes it look easy. He's just, oh man, he is so fun to watch. And Clemson is a fun team. You ever check it out with Dabo Swinney on that sidelines? You know, they're just having fun. It seems like it's fun to go to the practice. It's fun after the game. It's fun before the game, and it's absolutely fun during the game. They're just one of those teams that they enjoy each other when they play football.
Oh, you're darn right. And I tell you, another great thing, I had the pleasure when I was a young high school athlete, one of my good friends, Michael Palmer, was getting recruited. I had the pleasure of meeting Dabo Swinney. His energy when you walk into a room is second to none. You see I love his post-game press conferences. Sometimes they get under people's skin, but man, he's got that much confidence. He feels like he can show up any time and beat you. And boy, he's got the quarterback to do it. He's had the quarterback. That's a tone to stepping in the room and saying, "Hey, come! I'm selling me. Come be my quarterback. Come be my quarterback at Clemson. I'll show you what we can do." And he's done it with Watson. It started with Taj Boyd, Watson, Lawrence. In between them, he went to Kelly Bryant was a good quarterback out of the college football playoffs. So Dabo, maybe a quarterback whisperer. Maybe he's going to have another top overall draft pick, which will be a second with Deshaun Watson and now Trevor Lawrence.
I don't think anybody's beat the list of Oklahoma quarterbacks. JJ, let's talk about the last one from Houston.
Not recently.
No, Derek King. This kid's a multi-purpose quarterback and a pretty darn good one.
Yeah, De'Aaron King is unbelievable. A guy can make every throw.
Yep.
It's unbelievable to watch him play when he was over there at Houston.
He can take off and run with it. He can throw it. Quite an athlete, Derek King. And guess who they play this week? We've already mentioned it. Baylor, another Big 12 team. Do I smell an upset? I don't think it's an upset. I think Houston should beat them. Baylor's a team that's going to be in transition. I'm picking Houston to win this game, and I'm picking them to win going away.
I think you may be right. Houston might be the favorites in that one. Actually, if you give me a second, I'll go do some digging. I think they're the favorites in that.
They are the favorite. You don't even have to dig for it. Baylor's a team that is going to struggle all season long. We know it. Everybody knows it. And, that's just the way it is. They're going to struggle. They lost a lot of players last year. They lost their coach who went to Carolina. So, this is the way it is.
Actually,
guys, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Just to correct us, Baylor is a 4-point favorite according to
You're kidding me.
What? That's because they're at home.
Oh, is that Wayne? Thank you for telling me the game is at Baylor.
Correct.
Right.
I'm still picking Houston. How about you, Wayne?
I'll pick Houston just because it's a same conference as Memphis, and
I'm picking Baylor. I'm all messed up. I'm picking Houston. I'm picking Houston to beat Baylor straight up. JJ?
I'll take Houston.
So we all have Houston. You have Houston, right, Wayne?
Right.
We've all got Houston.
I'm very surprised.
All right. Speaking of picking games and finishing the show, let's go ahead. I want Wayne, our producer, who does a lot of work for the show. Without him, we wouldn't have one. I want Wayne to join us in these picks, and I want Wayne to speak up actually at any time whenever he wants talking about this college football stuff, especially being the big Memphis fan he is. And he's kind of like the woman there on The Blind Side.
Yeah.
He's not rooting for no Tennessee. He can't stand the Tennessee orange. It's not.
I ain't wearing that gaudy orange.
Right. It's not me. It's not my color wheel.
Yeah. Well, we used to have a scene in Memphis.
What was her name in The Blind Side? I forget.
I don't remember.
I can't remember, but it's played by Sandra Bullock.
Yeah.
Who is it? It's killing me.
Susan. I think it was Susan or
no, it's Tui. What's her first name?
Oh yes.
Sean Tui was the husband,
yes.
And I forget her name. It's killing me right now.
I can't. But wow.
And then of course you got the kids, the Tui kids, but the movie Blind Side, it's just not my color wheel. I mean, and Wayne hates that orange.
Well, I'm going to go say I hate the orange because my mother went to school at Tennessee. So.
Oh, geez, I just got Wayne in trouble if she catches on.
Well, I got to tell you though, when I was going to school in Memphis, we had to stay in, and I'm going to soften this up for family friendly show. We used to say nothing stinks like a big orange. Only we didn't say stink.
It's Leanne Tui.
Okay.
Leanne Tui, Sean Tui.
That's
Michael Orr. It was about Michael Orr, the offensive lineman who, ended up got heavily recruited at the last minute, went to Ole Miss. He wanted to go to Tennessee. He changed his mind. And then, of course, you had, SJ and Lily. So, that was the Blind Side. But I just remember Wayne the other day when we were talking, that's not my color wheel.
Yeah, I would say the only time that I might pull for Tennessee, honestly, would be if they played LSU, because I really feel as that, I know I get us Memphis stuff as an Auburn fan. I feel I have a less of a good feeling towards LSU than I do any other SEC school.
Oh man, I love Coach O. I don't know about you guys, but I love that Louisiana
Go
Cajun
Tigers.
accent. Huh?
Yeah,
Let's go Tigers.
Yeah, go Tigers. Yeah,
well, see,
I love it. I love it.
I
Joe
used to hear-
Burrow. What did he say about Joe Burrow? Stop coaching him after a couple of games. I just let him do his thing. I thought it was great.
Well, you know,
I love Coach O. I like Louisiana State. I always call them Louisiana State, and I have friends of mine. They say LSU. I said no. This is my way. I call them Louisiana State. Speaking of Southeastern Conference and all the other conferences, let's go in and let's pick. Let's see who our pick to click is to play in the conference championship game and actually win the conference. JJ, you still with us?
Yeah.
I'm still here, man.
Okay, I'll go. You know what, Wayne? You're the producer. Pick who wins the SEC in each division and who wins the conference.
Well, I've always said, you know, this. I'm gonna probably look like an idiot, but I'm really picking South Carolina to win the East, and I'm picking Auburn to win the West, and then Auburn to win the conference.
Whoa, Nelly, as Keith Jackson would say. I was surprised on South Carolina, not as much on Auburn. JJ, you're next.
Well, I am going to go chalk. I think LSU has lost a little too much talent to come back and compete for the SEC West Championship. I think they'll be close. I do think it's down to Alabama and Auburn. I think maybe Mississippi State has a shot with Mike Leach's offense, but I don't think they're going to make it. I will pick Alabama, the Crimson Tide, to roll. I think they're going to win the West. Maybe with the loss, maybe with two. Who knows? It's going to be a wide-open conference this year, as we all know. And I'm sticking with Georgia in the East. I think the recruiting over the last couple of years has just been better. I'm not going to pick Florida yet. Until Florida beats the champion, I'm not going to crown them that. So Georgia, Alabama, it pains me to say this. I don't know if Georgia has the quarterback to get over the hump, but for some reason – with this crazy conference and the way it is, Georgia might just win this thing. So I'm going to take the dogs.
Come on, hurry up.
The fan in me. But I take the dogs over the Bama easy.
Wayne, who do you have winning
I think the recruiting.
I've got Auburn winning.
Oh, you got Auburn. I apologize. I lost it. Okay, I've got Alabama playing Florida, hence the hat tonight, and I have Alabama winning the conference.
All right.
That's why I wore the hat tonight. And the second reason will be coming later on in the show. So let's go to the ACC, guys. I guess I'll start this one off. I've got Clemson over Notre Dame. I think they beat Notre Dame twice this year. I'm picking Clemson. How about you, Wayne?
It's hard to pick against Clemson. I would have said, you know, maybe mentioned Miami, but I've got a feeling it's Clemson.
I definitely have a feeling that go ahead. What do you got, JK, real quick?
It's Clemson versus Notre Dame, but to me, I think North Carolina may fall in that slot. I'm going to stick with Notre Dame, but North Carolina is my dark horse to play Clemson for the first time in the championship game because North Carolina misses them during the regular season. I think that might be an advantage. Notre Dame does play Clemson. That may come in to haunt them later. Like I said, I'm going to pick Notre Dame.
So you got Clemson and North Carolina?
I got Clemson. I got Clemson and Notre Dame, but I'm thinking North Carolina has a real shot because they don't meet Clemson until the would-be championship game. So again, Clemson versus Notre Dame. I'm picking Clemson to win it, no matter who they play. But bettors out there, there's a value bet on North Carolina that's very, very tempting to put some money on it.
Oh yeah, for the long shot to win a bunch of money.
So,
I agree.
Yep, for the long shot, and that's why I said North Carolina is going to be real close. They showed me something. Howell showed me something Saturday. Looked good. I think North Carolina's shot, but again, Clemson over Notre Dame. I'm taking Clemson.
All right, let's go to the Big 12. I'm going to go Oklahoma over Texas. I think they beat them twice. Even though it's a freshman quarterback and Spencer Rattler, I mean, I've listed the great OU quarterbacks and the coaching every year.
And they just
until Oklahoma gets beat, I'm picking Oklahoma.
And I'm the same way.
Huh?
Same exact way. Same
You
exact.
got Oklahoma
word
and
for
Texas.
word.
What about you, Wayne?
I
Well,
got Oklahoma, Texas, Oklahoma twice.
as long as y'all don't rat me out and tell my dad, I'm going to go ahead and go with Texas.
Why would I
not a
rat
bad
you
pick.
out? Why would I rat you out with your dad? Why is that?
Because
Not a bad pick, Wayne.
every time that I pick a team that he does not like, or every time I do something that he does not like, and I think he's not going to find out, he always finds out.
If he listens to the show,
Well,
you're all done.
Well, let me tell you what. I think that's a pretty good pick, Wayne. It's not a bad pick at all. Experienced quarterbacks usually get the job done.
It's better.
That would be my next best pick. Would be Texas, but I'm going Oklahoma. Let's go to the Big Ten. I've got Ohio State over Wisconsin, and it's pretty simple for me. They're the big favorite.
Ohio State
JJ?
versus row the boat.
The Golden Gophers, Minnesota.
I'm picking the Gophers again. I'm going with the Ohio State Buckeyes and Justin Fields. They'll beat them twice.
Okay, what about you, Wayne?
I'm just going to have to pick Ohio State because my stepdad is from Ohio. Although he went to Cincinnati, I know his family's big Ohio State fans.
Okay, who do you have them playing, Wayne?
I really hadn't looked into it enough to know. The next show, I'm going to be much more prepared.
Okay. All right,
Bingo.
let's do the Pac-12 for the fun of it.
Just in case.
I've got to go with the fun of it. I'm going to go Oregon to beat USC.
Yeah.
You got to go with Oregon, but I'm going to do the same thing I did last year, and I was right. I'm going to go Oregon versus Utah.
Wayne, you?
I'll go ahead and pick Oregon, but again, I'm at a loss.
Who do they play?
Oh, well, again.
And I'm picking Oregon to win it.
You know, I didn't really look at Big Ten or Pac-12 because at the time I was thinking about teams, they were not playing. But now that they might be playing, I guess I need to get back on the ball.
All right, let's do one more. Who wins the Sun Belt?
I'm going to go with App State.
You, Wayne?
Yeah, I've seen Arkansas State play, and part of me just wants to pick them because they really were tough against Memphis.
I'm going with Louisiana. They have athletes all over the field, and it wasn't close against Iowa State. I'm going with the Raging Cajuns to win it, and what a coaching job. I mean, just what a coaching job. I mean, if I'm not mistaken,
in general by the Sun Belts.
Huh?
So what a job in general by the Sun Belt Conference. Just
Exactly.
Unbelievable. All the way around.
Their head coach is a Chatsville. Did you know their head coach is a Chatsville? What's that city there in Georgia? Is it Chatsville? Is it Chatsville, JJ?
I believe you're correct there. I'm not 100% certain on there.
I believe he's a Chatsville, Georgia native. Yes, he is. It's Chatsworth. Man, what am I thinking? I see Vills all the time here. He's a Chatsworth, Georgia native. Played quarterback at Furman. Played in the 1AA national championship game versus Montana. To me, it's early. But a major bowl bid is not out of the question for Louisiana. No question about it.
Not at all.
And Coach Napier, Billy Napier, I was just totally impressed with. And that's why I picked Louisiana. Let's do the AAC. Wayne, who do you have? I'll let you go first.
Well, I'm gonna pick Memphis just because I feel like I have to, and I really have them again playing Cincinnati for the championship.
What about you, JJ?
Got to go with Memphis. They got a lot of talent. Norvell did an extremely wonderful coaching job there. I'm going to go with the other ranked team. I guess I'll just go with Chalk. I'm going to go Cincinnati and Memphis again. They had a good run last year.
Who wins it all?
Cincinnati returns.
Do you think Memphis wins it or Cincinnati?
Coin flip here. Let's go with, I'll make our producer happy. I'll go with the Tigers.
All right.
I'll just tick them off. I'll go with Cincinnati.
like I said, you're not.
Cincinnati.
It's not too far off from me because, like I said, my stepdad went to Cincinnati, and I like Chick-fil-A, and they both have the same logo. So,
Wow, and you know what? As the late great Tigers and Reds manager would say, Cincinnati. The Cincinnati Reds.
Cincinnati. That's what I'm
Cincinnati. I always loved how he said it, and I'll go with Cincinnati. Okay, guys. Who's your final four before we go? JJ, go first. And then who wins it? Who plays the championship and wins it?
I think the SEC gets two teams in regardless. I think it's Georgia and Alabama. I think you'll see Clemson in there. I think you'll see Ohio State. I'm not going to give you a winner yet, but those are my four. Alabama, Georgia.
No, you got to give a
Ohio
winner.
State.
And who plays for the championship and who wins it? Let's go. You can always change your mind later.
Well, I do think Ohio State will play Georgia for the national championship. I think Georgia's recruiting is unbelievable. I think they're bound to get it. They've been knocking on the door for years. Alabama gets beat by Georgia. Ohio State beats Clemson. They get a little redemption. And then it's Justin Fields versus his UGA.
And who wins it all?
Counterpart where he started.
Ohio State wins it all?
Justin Fields, I think Ohio State will probably win the whole thing.
All right, what do you got, Wayne?
Well, I'm going to pick only one SEC team getting into the Final Four, and I'm going to pick Auburn as that team. The other team will be Clemson, Texas, surprisingly, and I guess Ohio State will be the other one. And I have to pick Auburn to win the whole thing.
Oh,
I like it.
Okay, well, I will go. My Final Four is Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, and I'm going to have to go again, Oklahoma. I really am. It's going to be this, and I've got Alabama playing Ohio State for it all. I have Alabama thumping Oklahoma. I have Ohio State beating Clemson, and I have Alabama winning it all, hence the hat. But one more prediction. Army wins 10 games this season, fellas. Army wins 10 games this season, and they beat Air Force, they beat Navy. Go Cadets.
Yeah, I would not have picked them beating Navy at the beginning of the year, but after seeing how poorly Navy played, I think you might be right.
I've got the Cadets to win 10 games this year, and they go to a major bowl. Pandemic football, everybody. Well, that's it. Everybody, I had a great time. Thanks, Wayne, our producer in Memphis. JJ, thank you as always, my friend and sidekick. And Wayne, of course, you're my friend and sidekick producer. And guys, I really had a fun time tonight. We'll be next week. We'll be on Monday night. We'll have Dave Cohen on. We've already reserved him on the air. He'll be on at 8:40. Our show will be on at 8:30. And we'll bring it. We'll have it out on the air. We're also going to do some quick takes. TC's quick takes. JJ's going to have quick takes, and maybe Wayne will do a quick take for us too. So you can check those out. We'll put our show out on Twitter and Facebook, and I can't wait to do it. Eventually, we will go live down the line. I'm looking forward to it. Oh, one more thing. I have Landmark Christian versus Mount Zion, one of the West Georgia high school football games of the week on 98.9 Classics. I'll have the play-by-play along with a coach, Verlin Best, who does color. And Verlin, guys, if you get a chance to listen to him, you're going to love him. He's very colorful, and I love when he does analysis for a high school football game. I'm looking forward to the call. So, guys, that's it. I enjoyed it as always. JJ, do your saying.
Yeah, guys, we'll see you next week. Stay tuned to our social media at ATL Prime Sports. We'll keep you posted with the videos we're posting. I am going to do some professional sports hot takes during the week, and of course, I'll give you some betting tips. Stay tuned to my Twitter. Same time, same place. Well, we'll start it next week with Monday. So from there,
and let Wayne finish it off by saying, "What's JJ's word, Wayne? Did he always leaves the show with?" You can do it now every week.
Well, I can't remember what it is, man.
Get you one.
Get you one.
Yeah, Wayne, go ahead and do it.
Get you one.
All right, get you one, everybody. We'll see you next week. I enjoyed it, everyone. Good
All
night.
right.